Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our Mind the Moment Thursday morning mindfulness session brought to you by Harvard Pilgrim Healthcare. And as you all know, this is a place where we invite experienced mindfulness instructors to talk with us about what mindfulness means to them and discuss as a community how we can incorporate these practices into our daily lives. I'm Suzanne Rowe Palacino, and I'm happy to be here as always on Thursdays with Tara Healey, our founder and director of Harvard Pilgrim's mindfulness program. Good morning, Tara.
Good morning, Suzanne, and hello, everybody. Great to be with you this morning.
Nice to see everyone joining this morning.
Yeah.
So today we will jump right into practice. Tara will take us into a guided meditation practice, and she'll take us through a discussion of a very interesting topic this morning. And after that, we'll have some time for questions. So if you could open the chat at the bottom of your screen as we begin. And then if you're interested, check panelists and all attendees, click the drop-down menu so you can see everyone's comments in the chat.
I need to do that as well. Yeah. All
so
right.
To make sure you can see everything. So as we see people continuing to join, welcome everyone. And so Tara, I will hand it off to you this morning.
Thank you, Suzanne. Yeah, welcome again. We're going to start right in with meditation so we can leave plenty of time for conversation after the practice. And also, as I will say every time, we'll kick it off with meditation. And then, if you have a meeting, you need to leave early, you can hop off right after the meditation. But otherwise, we stay on till probably about 5 of 9, just in Q&A and conversation and in community. And this morning, I want to talk a little bit about why we believe what we believe. I want to share a recent piece by Dr. Amishi Jha, who is a neuroscientist, and share the built-in bias. There's 3 built-in biases of the brain, and which contribute to the belief in false narratives. And I thought it would be really interesting conversation for us to have after practice. So I'll share a little bit about what Dr. Jha has discovered, what she talks about in terms of the brain, and we'll do that right after the practice. So we'll let's settle in for about 12 minutes or so of guided concentration practice. If you were on the last couple weeks, we had a metta practice and we had another practice called Just Like Me, which is really understanding our shared humanity. Today's going to be more silent. There'll be more space in between my guidance, so I'll settle us in. And we will use an anchor like breath or body sensation or even sound as an anchor for our attention, that we will keep coming back to that particular anchor as a way to kind of calibrate and steady the mind. So it'll be much more of a concentration practice this morning. And then I really look forward to this conversation following. So go ahead and settle into a posture that feels like it'll serve you best this morning. And always know that standing is fine. That is a fine meditation posture to hold. And sitting, of course, is okay as well. And you can have your eyes open or closed. If you are going to keep your eyes open, you want to just gaze downward a little bit to help remove peripheral distraction. So settle into the posture that feels best for you this morning. See if you can surrender your weight into the surface that you're on, knowing that you will be held and supported by the earth below. So surrendering your weight into the support and bringing attention to the spine so that you are sitting in a way that is upright and engaged, yet at the same time relaxed. So the spine is straight but not stiff, with the body softening around the spine to the degree that you can. And I'm going to have everybody on your own just take 2 deep breaths as a way to settle any surface tension. And you want to take a deep inhalation through the nose and make that exhalation a little bit longer as a way to engage the parasympathetic nervous system. So, on your own, go ahead and take a couple deep breaths to settle in. And let's begin as we always do by letting go of what has happened so far this morning and releasing anticipation of what's to come. So, bringing the mind and the body together in this moment, sitting in a way that is engaged and upright, yet relaxed. Again, just to the degree that you can. Notice the points of contact with the back of the body and the surface that you're on. So that could be simply the soles of the feet and that point of contact, or all along the back of the body if you're sitting. Notice any pulsing or vibration or tingling or temperature. So, what's the raw data that your body is offering from the activity you've had so far? Bringing awareness to sound, either in the room or outside of the room. So, expanding the awareness outward just for a moment. And allowing sound to remain in the background and beginning to bring the awareness back inward. Noticing again whole body awareness, narrowing the focus a little bit more, beginning to notice the rhythm of your breath. And no need to change your breath to make it different. However, you're breathing is completely perfect. Just begin to notice where in the body breath sensation is strongest for you. So as you inhale and exhale, do you notice it in the abdomen, the chest, the nostrils, or just a general movement of the body? Each time the mind wanders, which it will, we're not trying to stop the wandering. We are stopping when we see we have engaged in a narrative, a memory, or planning, and then we gently return our attention to the anchor that we're choosing. So, where in the body is breath sensation strongest for you? And then, as an aside, if breath does not seem accessible to you this morning, you can use sound. So each time your mind wanders and you notice it, you can return to sound to help strengthen concentration. You can also have the palms of the hands resting on the thighs and notice that point of contact that could be used as an anchor. So either breath or a point of contact or sound, each time the mind wanders and you notice, simply release the wandering mind from the story it has engaged in, from the narrative. Just return to your anchor. Noticing where the mind is, letting go of the story, the memory, the planning. Gently escort your attention back to the anchor that you're using this morning. Tracking that sensation with your attention. And again, noticing where the mind is. Just letting that story go and returning to your anchor. And in just a moment, you'll hear the sound of a chime, and you can move awareness from the object you're using, whether it's body sensation or breath sensation or another sound, to the sound of the chime. And see when the chime rings, if you can track that all the way out until you can no longer hear it. And as you feel ready, allowing the eyes to open if they were closed. And again, you might want to take a couple of deep breaths, inhaling through the nose a little bit longer, exhale through the mouth. And I just want to, one thing I want to clarify is that when we repeatedly come back to whatever we're using to anchor our attention, each time you see that you're in a narrative and you bring the attention back, you can think of it as a drop in the concentration bucket, that is meditation, that you are doing it correctly. So the mind goes off, we see it, we're lost for a little while, we see it, and then we come back. And then again, the mind goes off and we come back. And the idea is that we're really learning to kind of calibrate or steady attention so that we can see more clearly what the mind is up to. And that's a really, really important part of this practice, is that gaining some steadiness helps mindfulness do its work of seeing clearly how things are, of seeing what the mind is up to, so that we can make corrections as needed. And to that steadiness helps us see, just the nature really of everything, of thoughts, emotions, and body sensations, that these things have a birth, a life, and they move. When we have some steadiness, we can see that with greater clarity. And there's a lot of comfort in that, in the nature of change.
Yeah. So you mentioned earlier about the fact that we have a built-in brain bias.
Oh, yeah.
And there are a lot of things that folks might believe that seem objectively false. So I'm just wondering what you've learned about how to work with.
Yeah. Yes, so I want to share a little bit of Dr. Amishi Jha's work. So Dr. Jha is a neuroscientist at the University of Miami, and she's sort of one of a handful of my mindfulness heroes, in that her research has been of great interest to me over the years, and as there are others as well. But she posted an article recently that I thought was so interesting, and especially given the times that we're in right now, it had a lot of relevance. And just letting everybody know that Suzanne will actually post it at the end in chat. But I want to say a little bit. So it was probably 4 pages. It's a pretty quick read. But what I want to, I'm paraphrasing a little bit, synthesizing those pages, and then would love to kind of open it up for conversation. But one of the things, so there are a few things that captured my attention. So the moment you understand something that you read or hear, your brain believes it's true. Just that statement alone, I thought was kind of interesting. The moment just after, your brain starts to do the cognitive work of assessing, so that maybe that thing can be unbelieved. But what she talks about are these 3 built-in biases. So first, the brain has a truth bias, the brain has a novelty bias, the brain has a confirmation bias. So let me say a little bit about each of these as Amishi describes it. So we need three things to test the truthfulness of something. So we need knowledge, reasoning, and cognitive resources. And by cognitive resources, what Amishi means is attention or focus, which is kind of what we were just doing, but also working memory. And just to, let me tell you a little bit about what working memory is. So working memory is something you need to remember in the moment of doing an activity. So for instance, if you are baking, but you can't find the recipe, but you can call to mind, oh, that's right, this spice goes in it and this goes in it, you're actually using working memory. So it's more like short-term memory that you're putting to use. So we have a truth bias, and we need three things to test the truthfulness. We need knowledge, we need reasoning, and we need cognitive resources. And what she says is that test after test, participants fail to unbelieve when they're overloaded with demands or time pressures. And so when we're stressed, those three things are not available to us, but specifically attention and working memory, which I feel like in some ways she's almost underscored. And the thing is, the current conditions are ripe for depleted attention and working memory. So let's look at her second thing, the brain has a novelty bias. Now this I see in myself. The brain is captured by novel, surprising, or fear-inducing information. And what she also says is that this pull may happen without our conscious awareness over and over again. So, think about a time where you might be looking something up on the internet and then you find you're in a rabbit hole of something else. And also that the pull, and I will underscore, I'll highlight the word may happen without your awareness. I know that has happened to me without my awareness. But also, like many aspects of our brain, this skill gave us a survival advantage. But the thing with novel and fear-inducing information is that it does spread more rapidly than true information. And then the third thing she talks about is that the brain has a confirmation bias. So this feels really important too. So information that you already believe is overprivileged. And we become increasingly blind to disconfirming or contrary info. And thus we become more entrenched in our particular belief. And, again, if we look at the conditions we're in, the pandemic has increased our social silos. So we tend to be talking to folks that have the same views. We're not, or rarely interacting with differing views. And then because of social media, the anonymity and the lack of direct face-to-face contact has eroded civility. And there's been studies about that as well. So let me just say these again. Brain has a truth bias. So the minute you understand something you read or you hear, you believe it. The brain has a novelty bias. We're drawn to that fear-inducing surprise, novel info, and the brain has a confirmation bias. So what we already kind of lean toward is overprivileged. Now here's where mindfulness comes in. And then again, partly why I chose to do a concentration practice this morning. And Amishi calls it mindfulness in action. So it's like that recipe example where you're actually, we practice formally so that we can take it out into the world. We don't practice formally so that we're just calm and steady, have a calibrated attention just during the time we're doing our formal practice. We actually do it so that we can employ the concentrated mind in the service of our lives. So Amishi specifically says mindfulness in action can help with the biases that we're faced with. So basically, mindfulness can strengthen the capacity to curb the spread of false narratives, to reduce divisiveness, and to expand our understanding and increase our civility. So basically, what mindfulness helps us do is the cognitive work to unbelieve. So this is where we use knowledge, reasoning, attention, and working memory to evaluate. And the more aware we are, and again, the more calibrated our attention is, the more we can do that cognitive work where we bring in our own knowledge, our reasoning, our attention. The second thing, which she says that I love, is pay attention to your attention. So, when we are lost in thought, we are just that, we are lost in thought. And thoughts tend to slip in unnoticed and then have all this control over us. But again, mindfulness can help with that, because when we're lost in thought and when we wake up from it, we now are awake, we are aware, and we actually know it. And then we can redirect and broaden our attention. We can be more intentional. And she also talks about working memory is a necessary component here, and to not forget that when we are overwhelmed and stressed, working memory and attentional capacity are compromised. So mindfulness really supports those in being stronger. And then the third thing she says is embody humility and civility. Many of our judgments are rooted in processes that we don't have conscious access to. And this I thought was so interesting. We think others are prone, but not us. So we have a blind spot. And, her directive to us is to have humility, and to even ask, how often do we have civil discourse with those that don't share our views? How often do we engage with those outside our bubble? And I think, the one thing that I want to also say here is that when somebody has a polar opposite view of you, the way that I sort of see all of what she's talking about too is that this, we are not trying to change somebody else's point of view, but I think we can use humility and civility to understand, to listen. So, there's something she says in the article that I love, which she says, your personal mindfulness practice is not a side project, it's a pro-social political act. I love that. And mindfulness in action is how we give peace a chance in our own minds and basically, in our nation. So we can never change anyone else, but we have the capacity through these practices to engage more skillfully in the world with greater awareness, even like seeing our own habits and our own patterns more clearly. But I see we're so close to being out of time, but I would love to see what comments or questions or thoughts anybody would like to offer. We've got a couple minutes.
Yeah, I was thinking about the fact that, well, what if someone else doesn't have a mindfulness practice and you're having this conversation with them and they, we might have that ability to step back, but someone else doesn't. This other person doesn't.
Right.
But at the same time, I guess they could pick up on the way that we're treating the conversation. And how
Yes.
when the other person is more calm or listening better, that affects that, each person in the conversation. So
yeah, no, I think that that's true. Because we can maybe influence, but we can't change. And even just letting go of the idea of doing that. So, I just encourage you to sort of keep at it with the formal practice. It feels really important in terms of how you are able to show up in the world. It helps you align with your own deepest values for who you want to be on a day-to-day basis. So, as I said, Suzanne will put in the chat the link to this article. And there we go. There it is. So happy reading, everybody. And thank you so much for joining this morning.
Thank you, Tara. Thank you for a very engaging subject. I think this is, like you said, so relevant during this time. So as you mentioned, we are out of time. So I want to just remind everybody to join us every Tuesday and Thursday at 8:30. And also to visit our website to take advantage of virtual fitness classes, yoga, Zumba, as well as wellness webinars, and check out our mindfulness and pain management resources on mindful.org/pain, both in English and in Spanish. Visit us on the Facebook page as well as on our YouTube page, and make sure to go to the tab that says videos to get to the previous sessions if you're looking to get to any of the previous sessions, and also some of Tara's interviews with mindfulness people in the mindfulness research community. So again, thank you so much, Tara.
Yeah.
We
Thanks
really
for joining, everyone, and
nice
have
to
a
have
wonderful
everyone
day.
here, and we'll let this settle as our day progresses. So thank you again for planting the seed for us.
Yeah.
All right. We'll see you soon, everybody. Thanks again for
Bye,
joining.
everybody.
Bye.